Hi guys. This video is one that I didn't anticipate making for a really long time, but last night I lost one of my babies, Nyxie. I've been meaning to make an update video with her because she's been sick for 6 weeks now, and at 3 weeks they couldn't figure out what was wrong with her, and they thought that she had a tumor, which she didn't. But and I'm gonna try to keep the sobbing to a minimum, but it's really hard. It's really rough. So I don't know if I want to do like tell you what was happening or how I got her or her attributes. I don't really know how to start this video, but I decided to record this on the camcorder so I can edit it and add like a slideshow or something, some videos of her at the beginning or the end of this video. I'm not sure yet how we're gonna do this, but yeah, she was only 6 years old. We found her. Yeah, let's start with that. Let's start with the good stuff. We found her October 2013 when me and my ex moved into the apartment complex. We walked around the building and we saw a row of kids playing like green light, red light, something like that. And I look over and there was just this tiniest little kitten behind a curb watching the kids. And so my ex went and picked her up, and she just let him pick him up. And so then the janitor told us that mama cat's in the bushes and that the kids like to play with him, but they play too rough, and they already killed one of the kittens, you know, because they're too rough. And I'm like, well, we can't let that happen to this one. So we took her in, and she was covered in fleas. Like, she had fleas crawling over her eyes. I've never seen anything so bad before. So we gave her a bath, and then I ran to Walmart and I picked up some Dawn dish soap and some wet cat food, because I had no idea how old she was at that point, but she was able to eat wet cat food and dry cat food also, so she was like probably at least a month old. So yeah, this month she would have been 6 years old. That's just entirely too young for a cat, because indoor cats live about 13 to 20 years. You know, Kira was 13, and I've had Kira since she was a baby, and I've had Nyxie since she was a baby. And like, she literally fit like in the palm of my hand. That's how tiny she was. And her ears were so dirty, and everybody thought that because the way her fur was around her eye, that she had dirt on her face or that she was missing an eye. But yeah, she was so smitten with Kira when we first got her, and Kira wanted nothing to do with her. It took Kira about a month or two to finally accept her, and you know, they became snuggle buddies, and it was just so adorable to see. And so now Nyxie is with Kira, and you know, both my girls are up there over the rainbow bridge, like, she's probably right now just eating a bunch of grass, because that was her thing. She always tried to get out of the house to eat grass. It was so funny. A little grass addict. But yeah, she just grew into this beautiful cat that, you know, she had her places and she had her quirks. Like, she was really good with playing with the ball. Like, she was her little soccer player. And like, every night she'd already be waiting in the bed for me, or she would follow me to bed, and as soon as I would hit the bed, she would start purring. She just had the loudest purr. It was so funny because she had the softest meow, but she was very vocal. Like, she was always talking to me, and I always wanted a cat that was vocal. And she just, I don't know. Like, she got me. Like, I know it sounds so weird to say, but we had conversations. I know it sounds so stupid, but like, she acknowledged what I said. she'd talk back in her own little cat voice, you know. And she was just the best. Like, she was sassy, don't get me wrong, she was sassy. But, like, she never intended to hurt me. It's like, you know, she would like, nope, I'm out of here, and she would, you know, scratch me to get away. But she wasn't like, oh no, don't you dare touch me, don't you manhandle me. Like, I could pick her up and hold her for like a few seconds, maybe a few minutes, but then she'd be like, okay, I'm done with this. But she liked snuggling, like at night, like when it was me and my ex in the bed sleeping, she would sleep by our feet, or she would come and lay on top of us. Like, she would lay on our ribs. And I thought it was so funny because she would lay on my ribs, Founddus lays on my hips and my legs, and Loki kind of droops over my shoulder. So it's like, if they really wanted to, they could have all slept on me at the same time. But yeah, it was just, you know, she was always there. Like, she was always like right there, either at my head, and I could just reach up and pet her before we fell asleep, or she would be right by my side and I would pet her. And then she didn't do it as much anymore as she used to. She used to like get up, go eat, come back to bed, get up, go eat, come back to bed, get up, drink, come back to bed. It used to drive my ex insane, but you know, it didn't bother me. But yeah, and it was so funny, like whenever I had somebody else over sleeping in my bed, like, I mean, I don't have that many dudes sleep in my bed, but sometimes I had a girlfriend sleep over, and it'd be funny, like, she would jump on the bed, she'd be like, what? Like, it sounded just like that, and then she'd be like, huh, and then she would go sleep somewhere else, and that is what kills me right now, because, like, when she first started getting sick 6 weeks ago, she was pooping and peeing in my bed. And so 3 weeks in, or maybe even 2 weeks in, I made the decision to move her into this room, my filming room. Because I was like, I can't go to bed and discover that she had peed on my pillow or peed on my mattress, you know. Because, like, you know, with poop, you can, like, I mean, it depends on where it is. You can just clean it up and, you know, go to sleep. But with pee, you know, you have to clean it up better. Unless it's a pillow, then you can just take the pillow and throw it into the washing machine and go to bed. But, you know, it wasn't like that. And so I made the decision to move her into this room. And I had to keep her isolated, which she loved and hated. So I had to keep her isolated to monitor her, to see if she's eating, if she's drinking, if she's pooping. Like I would take note of that. And, like, you know, so people are like, well, why do you have to do that? I'm like, well, I have 4 cats. It's hard to, you know, it's hard to, unless you see them use the litter box, it's hard to tell who used the litter box or who ate or who drank. So it's just, I had to keep her isolated. And also, another thing that Dr. Burns, one of my vets, said, he's like, yeah, you know, she needs to rest. She doesn't need the irritation of other cats. And I think like 2 or 3 times I put her on, she has a harness on, so I would put her on a leash and let her walk around the house. Like, look, everything is still the same. You're just locked up so that you can rest, so I can keep an eye on you, but everything is still the same. And so whenever Loki would approach her when she was on a leash, she would just hiss at him. I'm like, okay, you need to go into your isolation again and rest. And, like, I remember trying to, like, you know, it's like, well, maybe I just need to, you know, put her on a leash and just kind of hang out on the bed for a little bit, because that was her safe space. But whenever I tried to do that, she would, like, try to get underneath the bed. And I'm like, no, I can't crawl underneath the bed and get you out to put you back in your room. So I was like, okay, so I put her back in her room. And that really hurts, man. It hurts because my bed was her safe space. So I really hate that. I hate that, you know, in her last days, last week, she didn't get to sleep in the bed anymore. It really just eats me up, you know. And I know I did the right thing because, you know, it's like you don't want to sleep in a bed that a cat is constantly pooping in because, you know, she tries to poop where it's comforting. And that's the thing though, it's like she would use the litter box. And she would get into the litter box and she would sit there and squat and she would try to poop and try to poop and just the tiniest amount would come out, or she would run off and then she would have poop falling down as she's running off. And but yeah, what I've noticed was that she would let me hold her for so much longer. Like, we would just sit here and I would hold her, and I could tell that she had lost weight because she was just getting so skinny. And she was already skinny to begin with, but she got so frail. And I just knew that this is not gonna last. Like, with Tiger right now, Tiger, she's 15 years old, and I've had her for 3, and she needs arthritis shots twice a week now, which I told the vets, like, I think 1 is fine, she can do with just 1. But, yeah, I think we're looking at the end of the road for Tiger as well. But, I mean, she's 15 and she's had a good life. Nyxie is only 6. So with her, it was a freak accident. So let me tell you what happened. So, like I said, I wanted to do an update video with her in it, but I just kept forgetting and just like I have no time. But, so, one night I woke up and I'm like, what are you doing? She was pooping on the bed. And then I cleaned that up and I went back to bed, and then she peed on the pillow that I was sleeping on. I'm like, what the hell? And then I think she also vomited. I'm like, what is going on? And that, of course, happened like Friday night. And so I monitored her, made sure she was eating, and then Monday morning I took her to the vet. And they said that was a UTI, so they gave her some antibiotics and some wet UTI food, and she ate it. So I had to keep her isolated. Well, no, actually at first I didn't keep her isolated. I kept the doors open, I just gave her the food. But then I started to notice, like, I don't think she's pooped. So that's when I started to isolate her in the bedroom so that I could monitor what she's eaten and if she's taken her medicine, because it was liquid antibiotics. So I would mix a teaspoon with the liquid with the wet cat food, and I mixed that up and I would give that to her first, and then I would bring in some dry food. So then I went back to the vet like 10 days later, 7 days later, I don't know. I think it was 10 days later. And I told her, I'm like, look, I don't think it's a UTI. I think it has something to do with her intestine or like her stomach, because I don't, like, see, here's the thing, like, I remember one day she didn't poop, and then the next day she pooped like 3 times during the day, and I mean like full on bowel movement, like going 3 times a day, okay? So I told that my normal vet, and she's like, well, you know, with the antibiotics, sometimes that can happen, that your movement is weird, or you get diarrhea, or you start vomiting, so I'm not that concerned. But she now has a fever. And of course, now I know why she had a fever, because she was backed up with feces. But, so from there, we gave her more antibiotics and switched to UTI cat food. And she would eat that. She loved it. She loved food. God, I'm gonna miss that cat. So then, a couple of days later, I went back to the vet. I'm like, look, she hasn't poop. Like, she's peeing, but she's not pooping. And so my vet is like, okay, well, just, you know, I can't remember what happened, but I think they gave her a shot for antibiotics. She's like, okay, monitor her tonight, and then tomorrow call me on the emergency line. Let me know what's happening. So I called her. I'm like, look, she's not pooping. And so the vet's like, you know what? Go get a second opinion, because I think it might be a tumor. So when I got home from work, I called my dad. I'm like, hey, can you come support me at the vet? Because I was like, I don't think I can do this by myself. So went to Dr. Burns. He checked her out, and he's like, well, I feel a little bit of stool in the back, but it's not bad. So he gave her some antibiotics for the fever. And like, they came up with the same results as Dr. Wheat did. So then I took her back home, and then that was Wednesday, and then Friday I took her back to the vet, and I'm like, look, she's not. So they gave her another antibiotic shot, and I can't remember anymore. And oh yeah, he was like, okay, so call me if she has pooped. Like, if she's pooped, she's fine, but check up with me on Monday. Okay? So I called him Friday. I'm like, hey, she is pooping a little, just not a whole lot. Like, it's the size of a lima bean. Like, maybe once or twice a day. And he's like, okay, well, if she's pooping, then that's a good sign. Like, okay. Well, then it comes Sunday, she wasn't pooping again. So then Monday morning, I took her to the vet. Or actually, not in the morning, after work. See, that's one of the things where, that's another thing that kills me. It's like, I should have just blown off work and taken her to the vet so she could have gotten taken care of. But then at the same time, it's like, it's me living by myself taking care of the bills. So, like, I can't. And you know, it's so funny. It's like, you miss one day of work, and it's like $200 off your check. But then you work one day overtime, and you get like $30 extra. Like, I don't understand that. Anyway. So I took her to the vet, and he's like, okay, I'm going to keep her here overnight. I'm going to give her an enema. We're going to give her some laxative first, and then give her an enema, and see if we can get her cleaned out. So then they did that, and when I called Tuesday morning, they're like, yeah, we got her cleaned out. Everything's looking good. She's eating, she's drinking. It does show that she has a little bit of backup again, but now I think he kept her Monday and Tuesday. He kept her 2 nights. And then he's like, okay, so yeah, she's fine. We just want to keep her for observation. It's like, okay, I agree. So then, when I called them Wednesday if she was ready for pickup, or was it Tuesday? Yeah, Wednesday for pickup, they're like, yeah, she's fine. She's much more pleasant, but we do see that she's backed up a little bit again. But we want to try and want you to come pick her up and take her home and see if she will use the litter box in a more familiar environment. And I'm like, okay. So I brought her home, and we monitor her again, and it's the same thing again. Like, she was using the litter box just a little bit. She was eating and drinking. She, you know, wanted to be loved on. She was constantly walking around my feet, rubbing on me, which, you know how every cat has like their own way of doing it? I'm just gonna miss it with her. And she just had such interesting fur. Like, she was a short hair, so her fur just felt interesting. And when I touched it this morning, she felt cold. It was heartbreaking. But anyway, so I took her in Monday after work again. And again, I feel bad about it. I should have just called in and be like, look, I'm going to be an hour late. I'm taking my cat to the vet so she can get that care of. Well, so I called yesterday after I had to go to the doctor for myself, and they didn't call me back. So I called them like, hey, so what's the verdict? And he's like, well, okay, so we got her all cleaned out. She's much more pleasant again. And he said, now there's one odd thing we did see, is that the ring around her anus that closes it, like her, I guess her muscle, was very tight. Like he said, like it was just way too tight. Like even if she wanted to poop, she couldn't. And I mean, that was the whole thing. Like I would sit here and watch her. She would be in the litter box and she would just try. Like the other day she was in the litter box and I could hear her struggling. Like she was making noises trying to poop and just hardly anything would come out. And like this past weekend I was giving her some gel laxative and she would eat it up and then she would just poop a little bit. And then Saturday night when I saw that she just had diarrhea and just the tiniest little amount of diarrhea cream poop drip would come out, I was like, okay, we're done giving you that. But I would give her medicine and she would take it, except for Sunday and Monday she was like, no, I'm done taking medicine. And I didn't want to fight her because the medicine was only to make her bowels move, and I'm like, okay, something is going on because, you know, she's just not. That's, you hear Loki eating in the background. So I was like, okay, I'm just not going to fight it. So Tuesday, you know, we talked about that, and I told Dr. Burns, like, hey, I completely forgot to tell you Monday, but when I picked her up Sunday night, and she was letting me hold her, and she was purring. But she was also shaking, and it wasn't like a purr shake. You know how sometimes they have a little vibration going? Like she was like shaking like she was cold. And so I had forgot to tell him about that. And he's like, it's probably just from discomfort. I'm like, okay. And he's like, yeah, we've given her a pain shot, so she's not in pain. Okay. I'm like, okay. And he's like, oh, so what I want you to do when you come pick her up tomorrow is we're gonna give you some food to take home with you that is a stool softener. And because I mean, he told me like he wanted to snip her anus ring, but then that would leave her incontinent. So he wanted to try a stool softener first, which then I was in my head, I was like, okay, how am I going to do this? I'm going to have timed feeding because I don't want all my cats to eat the soft stool food and have everybody just crapping all over the place. So I was like, okay, yeah, we can do that. Well, I'll just have to do a time feeding schedule for the cats. Okay, so then I went home and I ate something and I went to school and I was just in the bathroom and I had forgotten to silence my phone, which I normally do before I go into class. Well, I got a phone call and it was from the animal hospital, and it wasn't a nurse, it was Dr. Burns who was on the phone. He's like, Miss Poole, damn, I just said my name. And he's like, I'm sorry to tell you this, but Nyxie had a seizure and she didn't wake up from it. And he's like, it was really odd because she's had sedation before, so the sedation caused the, well, I don't want to say the sedation caused the seizure. When I talked to him this morning, when I went and saw her. So it was basically what had happened was she first probably had a UTI. And then the UTI caused a fever. And then the fever caused dehydration, which made her inside sticky. Okay, so that's what we're going with for the past 4 weeks. But now, you know, he was saying that her anus ring was way too tight. So I don't know if that was something that was all along the issue and it just wasn't caught, or if it's something that happened from the, like, it was just a chain reaction of things. So we don't really know that. And he said this morning, it's very odd that it took so long for that to occur, because I mean, it's been 6 weeks. But it was probably all the toxins in her stomach that, you know, even though she got cleaned out Monday, it it was probably too many toxins in her body that caused her to have a seizure and pass. And it's gonna be really, really hard. But I know at least she's not in pain anymore. And I know she's got a friend waiting for her. And she also had issues with her eye. Like, she would get a lash stuck to it and it would irritate her. So I know she doesn't have to deal with that anymore. But yeah. And Nyxie was my girl. I loved her so much. She will be missed. And it's so weird because, like, for the past 4 weeks she hasn't been sleeping in the bed with me, so I'm already used to not having her there in the bed. But I was missing it, and I wish I would have just said, you know, Sunday before I took her to the vet, I wish I would have just said, you know what, you can sleep in my bedroom tonight. Like, I don't care if you're pooping on it or peeing on it, I don't care. But of course, you don't know. You don't know. And like I said, she was only 6 years old, so I was not prepared to have another little basket of ashes. I was not prepared for that. But yeah, she was such a good cat, because she was my second cat, and so I've learned with all the mistakes that I've made with Kira, I didn't make with her. Like, we had more than one litter box, and I didn't use my hands to play with her. And yeah. And she was feisty, like, she was strong. I remember when I was telling the vet, like, I can't give her medicine, okay? And the assistant came and she's like, yeah, she's strong. So yeah, she was very strong. But here in the last couple of weeks, she allowed me to give her medicine. Like, she didn't want it, but we were able to do it together. And she would also, like, I had her little harness on, and she would walk on the harness. It was so funny. Like, Monday when I went to the vet, the assistant brought it in on the harness. She was just walking along, and the assistant was like, "That's so cute." She was my precious baby. Okay, so now you know what happened with Nyxie. You know, when I've gotten her, and yeah, she's had a good life. I mean, she could have, you know, we could have just ignored her on that street curb, and she probably would have made it for maybe a year. But I mean, she was so infected with fleas, like, she probably would have died from having parasites, because fleas give cats parasites. So it is so important to make sure that your cats don't have fleas, and make sure you get your cats fixed. Like, that is something that I've learned with Kira. You have to get your cats fixed, because if not, it's not just about, oh, I want my cat to have babies. It's also for their health and territorial stuff. So, you know, oh goodness. Okay, well, I'm not even gonna freaking edit this. I'm just gonna add some videos of her in here and some pictures. But I just want to also thank everybody for being supportive. It's been rough 6 weeks. Like, the 3rd week when my doctor told me that she might have a tumor, I was devastated. Like, at this point, I was already like, you know, every time I came into the room, like, when I came into the room Sunday, like, normally she would come out of her hiding spot where she sleeps in the filming room, and she'd greet me. She would just yell at me. And also, like, I thought it was funny when all of this was happening. Like, I didn't know if she was, like, yelling at me because she was in pain, or I figured she was just, because she would still let me pick her up and love on her. So I figured she was just yelling at me like, "Hey, you're in here!" So, you know, and I tried to spend a lot of time in here, but I wanted her to rest, so I would come in here and check on her like every couple of hours, and I would hang out with her and just love on her. And I would come, and when I was using the computer, she would come and lay on the table, and I would hold her, and she would sit in the window. Like, we'd still spend time together. So that was something I was making sure of, because I didn't want to like put her in a room and forget about her. Like, I still, like, I knew she was sick, so I wanted her to rest, but I also wanted her to know that I'm still there for her and checking on her. And anyway, so Sunday I came in, because normally when I would come into the room, she would always meow, and it didn't matter if when I had her put up into the bedroom or filming room, she would always meow and then come out of hiding. And so Sunday, I called her name, and I called her name, and I called her name, and she would not answer. So I had to move all the boxes out, and just to see if she was still alive. And she was. She just looked up at me, and I'm like, okay, she's okay. And then I came back a few hours later to check on her again, and that's when she came out to greet me. So I'm like, okay, like, you have no idea. Her loss is gonna, like, I know I have 3 other cats, and I know it was the same thing with Kira, but with Kira, it was just, like, Kira had her own thing, and she was the mean cat, but it was because our doing. She was mean because our doing. She loved me. And with Nyxie was just so different, because she was just so sweet. Like, she was sassy, don't get me wrong, she was sassy and feisty and, you know, fierce, but she loved me and I loved her, and she knew I loved her. She would just squeak whenever I would come home, or I would call her name. She would just squeak and let me know, and then she would come and greet me. And Loki does that, but he does it in his own way. I'm just gonna miss my girl. I'm just gonna miss her so much. Okay. And that's it. Okay, I love you guys. Bye.